Vitamin D deficiency is painful, and if you're going through it right now, I feel for you because I was there 2 years ago. Now listen to my story. So 2 years ago, I woke up one morning and I was feeling so dizzy to the point where I didn't understand what was happening to me. I booked my doctor's appointment and I went to see my doctor, and he said, well, let's do some blood works. He took my blood pressure and he did, general observations on me, and he said, you look fine, but let's do blood works. So he did the blood works, still nothing. I was still feeling the symptoms that I was feeling, so he couldn't understand what was happening, what was potentially happening. So he referred me to specialists like endocrinologists, and they couldn't find anything. The first thing that they found was that my cortisol levels were a little bit higher than the normal. So they did repeat that, and the second time it came back that it was within the normal range. Yet I was still feeling these symptoms, so he couldn't understand. Ultimately, one morning he just called me and said, oh, I think your vitamin D levels are low, so maybe you should supplement on that. That was even an advice. He said you should. I mean, again, he's giving me advice. It's not like he can force me to take it, so you should. But he didn't really emphasize on the importance of vitamin D. So I asked him, I remember, so could it be that my symptoms are due to the fact that my vitamin D levels are low? And he said, well, I have seen people whose vitamin D levels are lower than yours, and they do not present all the symptoms that you're presenting, and they don't feel the way you're feeling. So I thought maybe it's not the vitamin D. Maybe I'm actually really sick, and maybe I have something that is going on with my body, which indeed I did, right? I was having tender, scalp. I had palpitations. I had all this bone pain. I was going to the toilet quite frequently, and I've done 2 videos about this. And I had very severe symptoms, mood swings. I had seasonal depression. And of course, this was in the UK, so it makes sense as to why I was feeling like this. In the UK, you don't really get sun like that anyway, so seasonal depression is mostly whole year depression. So he told me, oh, you should supplement on vitamin D. And I started supplementing on vitamin D3. Of course, I did my own research, and I did find that vitamin D3 is more bioavailable. And so I started supplementing on, as he advised me, 800 international unit of vitamin D3. Now, I observed that my symptoms were not really changing. Nothing was happening, even though I supplemented for a week on 800 international unit. So he did call me back and said, I've referred you to a cardiologist. Now you should try your best not to, take any supplements like gym supplements for protein shake and stuff like that. So I stopped all that, yet my symptoms were not improving. So I realized that, okay, this is more serious than I thought it was. So what I did was I did my own research, and I observed that most of the symptoms that I was observing were potentially linked to the fact that I had vitamin D deficiency, right? So I started supplementing on that. Now, in the same period, one of my friends, a very close friend of mine, I've known him for a very long time. This was 2 years ago, he was 24, now he's 26, quite young and also quite healthy. He was diagnosed with diabetes type 2. And I said, this is quite interesting because you are young. Why? And it's not like you don't eat healthy or you're obese or something. So why type 2 diabetes? Again, type 2 diabetes is mostly due to lifestyle. And when you change your lifestyle, you are going to mostly be able to reverse if it's like pre-diabetes. Now, his one was not pre-diabetes. He was diagnosed with full diabetes. So it was quite strange to me. So I asked him, have you checked your vitamin D levels lately? And he said, no. And I was like, oh, so did your doctor do your vitamin D levels? And he said, oh, when he checked my vitamin D levels, that was back in like 4 months ago, and my levels were low. I was deficient, and I said, can you start supplementing on vitamin D levels and let's see something? This is because I had previously read upon how vitamin D deficiency leads to insulin resistance, right? Which, of course, if you're insulin resistant, that means that you're more likely to develop diabetes, right? So he started supplementing on this, and then so his doctor had initially told him that if things don't get better, he would put him on metformin. When he started supplementing on vitamin D3, as I'd advised him, and K2 together, he observed that of course his mood changed, his physiology started changing, and then he went for blood works, and his vitamin D levels were up this time, but also the his blood sugars had also dropped. And I was like, this is quite interesting, actually. Now, around this time, my symptoms were subsiding. I was getting better. This is about like 3 months in it, 4 months in it, but I wasn't still quite feeling myself. So this is to say that if you have any vitamin D deficiency and you are pre-diabetic, please make sure that you are taking your vitamin D supplement. Now, not any vitamin D, just take the vitamin D3, not alone, because when you take it alone, it will basically cause calcium absorption in your blood and it will cause hypercalcemia. So you would want to supplement it together with vitamin K2, which will drive all the calcium that your vitamin D level has increased in your bloodstream to the right places like your bones and your teeth, right? Which is very important. Now, one other supplement that I took was also magnesium, which is really interesting. Now, magnesium basically relaxes your muscles. So if you're tensed, around that time I was very tensed, right? I felt a lot of tension in my muscles. My neck area was very tense, and I took also magnesium for my sleep because my sleep was very disturbed. When you have vitamin D deficiency, you are also going to have sleep problems. So guys, please make sure, especially when you are of this skin tone, living in the West, if you're not living in the tropical areas, make sure that you do supplement on your vitamin D3 with your K2 and potentially magnesium if you want to. Now, if you go to your doctors and you have pre-diabetes or you have your blood pressure levels are higher, you may be feeling spasms and twitches in your muscles, this may be a sign that you're having vitamin D levels down the drain. So you might want to be proactive, because prevention, once you start supplementing on that, you are more likely to reverse any sort of like problems that had already started in your body, so that you don't end up being diagnosed with full diabetes or with hypertension or with other serious inflammatory diseases, right? So thank you. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to this channel, because I'm going to be coming with a lot of vitamin D related videos and vitamin D related problems, health problems in Black people and other ethnic minorities as well. Someone may say, oh, white people are also deficient. This is true, because I also came across a lot of people who were white and they lived in very cold areas, also suffering from vitamin D deficiency. So please make sure that you supplement, and thank you very much for watching this video. God bless you.